It is 5 o'clock. I call this work session to order.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. First up, deer hunting.
Steve,
Steve,
I'm looking at him. He's
Jeff,
looking-
yeah,
he's
who
looking at
wants
me.
to
He's looking
get
at
on
me.
board with this?
It looks like the parcels are a lot smaller than I thought, but I guess when we consider the 150-foot thing, that's what it ends up being. 150 foot from a property line, 150 foot from a road. I thought there'd be a lot more properties involved, because, you know, 3 acres, man, how can you even get 150 feet away from it? But there's,
Yeah, I was surprised too, and just to add to that, just late last week, we received an offer. LDFA had, an agreement with a buyer for more than 10 acres. That offer has just been extended to purchase 28 acres. So that 6 acres on your map will be sold probably before the end of the year.
Sure.
so what about the part on the east side along the school property?
Yeah, that includes, that would be that smaller, I guess,
A
horizontal.
smaller
Yeah.
piece, yeah.
Actually, no, they wanna buy the entire U
That
shape.
other part is
28.
27,
Oh,
27.
look.
They're looking to buy pretty much everything left.
Everything else out there.
That's about all it's left.
Wow.
That other little piece is like 7.25 acres or something, just north of the credit union. On the school property.
Yep.
That might still be able to be open for this lottery, possibly.
So the two places that I had questions about were behind the DPW, and I'm sure Brian has had kittens about that. But again, it's elevated, they're not they're not shooting flat, they're shooting elevated. We could put a stipulation on it, that parcels are weekend only, Saturday, Sunday, maybe just appease Brian a little bit, as well as the 7.5 acres of Peterson and Lewis. I mean, we can put whatever stipulations on it we want, if Brian, like I said, is concerned about staff-hunter interaction, which I don't think there would be a whole lot anyways, because, I mean, you run into that issue out at Duck Lake State Park, people can walk the park, but it's huntable. So, I mean, the hunters, for the most part, are very, at least the ones that I know, are very ethical in what they do and everything else, so, those two spots, if Brian, like I said, or the DPW guys have a concern about it, we can just say, hey, guess what, that's Saturday, Sunday only. And, because quite honestly, that spot at Peterson and Lewis is the one that I would want to put in for.
Yeah.
That's a hot spot. There are deer there every day when I drive back to work.
All day long.
Either coming in off of Alice Street or they come across the golf course, and that would be a really hot spot if we really wanted to do this, so. Yeah, like I said, we can make those Saturday, Sunday if everybody likes it, and that probably would solve maybe some of the issues.
I don't see where a piece of property behind the DPW would even be qualified for it. If you gotta be 150 feet from the rail trail, and you gotta be 150 feet from White Lake Drive, not 150 feet from Warner.
I don't think you gotta be, I don't think the trail counts.
Oh, you don't think so?
No,
Well, that could
no,
be.
roadway counts and buildings count. I don't think trails count,
Why would the trail not count?
It's just property line.
because the state doesn't think the trails warrant hunting a line in the sand for hunting. I mean, I hunt off some trails up the north and it's allowed.
Well, we don't have to allow it.
Yeah,
It
but
is-
there's really no
the
issue with it, I
city's
mean, they're hunting elevated,
property,
they're not shooting across the
The rail
trail.
trail line,
Yeah.
so that's,
Yeah,
it would still be the 150 feet from the property line, then, wouldn't it?
correct. And
Pretty close, yeah, they would have to be on this side, they couldn't be between the trail and the road.
I'm not sure how much property we could get.
Probably where you're keeping
Yeah.
leaves at.
Well, that's, yeah, back there and back in that corner, I had did I get a picture of
That
that?
triangle area, or?
Yeah, back there, back by the leaf pickup, I mean, there's a lot of deer running back, every time I
I know.
go back there, there's deer back there as well, so. There was one huge buck back
Maybe we could go back and look at that,
there. Yeah,
but I don't know if you're gonna get much area to hunt on.
I mean, quite honestly, people hunt on fields, people can hunt in that sand pit, and they're gonna see deer, I guarantee it, because I see them out there.
You see
So.
deer just about anywhere.
They're
in the
everywhere,
city
just
now.
put a hostage in somewhere, you'll get a deer.
I had a call this week from somebody that said that there's a lot of people that walk, pertaining to Funnel Field, that there's a lot of people that walk through that woods.
We don't shoot people that are walking.
Oh, that's right, they gotta have horns.
Yes, we can sell them. Quite honestly, the one in Funnel Field also is a kind of a little, when I went and looked at my Onyx Hunt app, that 3.5 acre parcel there, that actually goes down to the one line you see drawn, kind of shows up in white with all the trees around it. That's actually the city, that's actually the lot line, I do believe, and that's the bottom of the creek. If I was a hunter, I'd be over here. I wouldn't be here. I'd be over here. Because that's where they're gonna walk. They're gonna walk along that edge and they're gonna walk along down in the bottom of that gully. So, which quite honestly is safer because you're shooting down into the gully and not into anything else. The cemetery's over here, so.
Well, what, isn't there a lot of unused land that city owns connected to the cemetery off of?
That's
Peters?
actually, that's an LLC or that guy, some gentleman owns that back. Because I always thought that was city property back in the day. too, but-
Johnson Trust
That's it.
owns a
That's it.
lot of that property.
I thought maybe the city owned a fair amount.
I think we're right
to
to
the cemetery. But maybe-
I think we're right to where the clearing stops, isn't it? Because that's pretty much our line.
Oh,
'Cause I went back and looked the same thing. Get a hold of that Johnson Trust, that's another good spot back there, so. But yeah, we could extend that out a little bit back in here and just back in that region. All I know is last year, I was out and we had planted those little trees there at Funnel Field, on the other side, the back side of Funnel Field. And, 2 of those trees were so barked up from a buck that we used them for rubs, and it was just, they were destroyed pretty much because of the buck rub, so I know they're back there. She knows they're back
Yep, every day.
there. So, that would be my suggestions after I looked at it, is I would, with that 3.5 acres, we could just, we could change the dimensions on that, but that back part of Funnel Field would probably be very, very good, as well as that section I was talking about.
Yeah.
At Allison,
Peterson.
or Peterson, and yeah, Warner area there.
Peterson.
We could do a Saturday, Sunday only.
By the water pump there.
Yes.
Is the feeding portion, new to this?
As far as
It's
not
been
allowed.
in there.
Yeah, it's
Not
okay.
allowed anywhere in the state.
Now, just that bottom paragraph going on to the next
Yeah,
page.
yeah, they are.
The boulevard.
Yeah, they are revisiting it again, I'll tell you that, 'cause I was watching fishing out of doors and they're looking at that again,
If we move forward with this, obviously we'll
so. Will.
review it from a legal standpoint, and now those maps are county GIS approximations.
Mhm.
We'd actually go out and measure, put up signs as to what is the designated hunting area.
Oh,
Yeah, and I could, if you want, Scott, I can help you, and we can put some of that orange surveyor's tape or whatever on, and, go put that up, and that stuff stays, so.
So about having a $10 fee or something for putting your name in, what do you think about that?
I think it would, as far as a time and effort thing, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing, $10 or $25 entry fee or
Yeah,
something like
it's-
that.
You know, it's-
And I also think that it, once a person, I don't wanna give them full rights for the whole season. I mean, the season's essentially go now from October to
January
end
11th.
of middle of January.
Yeah, it goes to
So,
January 11th now.
Oh yeah, you got it 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say 2 weeks at a time, that would work, or, yeah, that'd probably be even better than if you get a deer, bring it in, and
Yeah,
the 2 weeks would be a better,
yeah.
than trying to figure out the rest, that'd be more of a hassle, hey, you get a deer. Other than we'd still wanna know. I would make sure that's in there, that
Yep.
if you are drawn and you get a deer, please let us know, sex and, when you got it.
We gotta report that to the state.
They do anyways,
So-
but yeah, it'd be nice for us to know, just so we have that
Yeah.
documentation and see if the program is actually working like we want it to, so.
How many are they allowed to take, just from 100, I don't know about it.
That changes every year. Muskegon County, I do believe, had over-the-counter dope permits last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they do.
Um,
And you get 10.
There was a limit of 10, which quite honestly wouldn't hurt at all.
Yeah, so if somebody had the spot for 2 weeks and they took all 10,
They took out
That
10
would
or they
be-
take 3 or whatever. I mean, yeah, hey, great, thank you.
You can get a 2-buck license and 10 does if you want, on top of that. So
Yep.
okay.
you could, in fact, you could shoot a doe with a buck license, so you could shoot 12 does legally. If you want.
If you got that much freezer space,
Yeah.
or that many friends.
So does anyone have any strong opposition to going forward with this?
My only thing with the fees would be, we're trying to make the deer herd a lot smaller, and if you put fees on it, that deters a lot of people. I mean, I understand that it's gonna cost us a little bit of money to, to monitor and, maybe put up some tape and stuff like that, but I'd like to keep it at a minimum,
We could do a $10 fee if you want to do that. I'm telling you, I got guys at work right now that are chomping at the bit because they saw this, and about 3 of them said today, hey, what do I need to do and when do I need to do it? And I said, oh, pump the brakes. We aren't there yet, but
I'd say $10 would be
Yeah.
fair, but, I think $25, you're gonna have some people that just aren't gonna do it just
Yeah.
because of the cost.
That's a little much for 2 weeks.
yeah, if it's 2 weeks, $10 would be fine as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Other than that,
People will pay
I don't have
thousands
any-
of dollars
Yeah.
to lease
Yeah,
land
how much
for
for- yeah.
deer hunting,
Yeah.
like that.
Other than that, I don't have any opposition to it.
Okay, well, I think staff has the idea where we want to go with this. Clear as mud. Okay.
The
All right.
paperwork's probably more of a pain in the neck than the $10, I would think.
Yep. Just keeping track of who has what where.
Yeah.
All right, next up, West Colby naming rights.
That would be me. Just kind of something that came to mind a while back that the Big John property right there, that after all the things we had go on and everything else, and the Miller family had owned that for a long time, I would like to see it being named the Miller Promenade. I mean, as far as just a name out there, I mean, we've got all the other places that are named after people, other than Lions Park. I mean, that was initially looked at that. I mean, we got Goodrich Park named after people, etc. Slocum Park over here. That was just something that I thought would be nice for the family, and go from there. I figured I'd put that out there. See what you guys
Millers?
thought. Yep, Gloria Miller was the one that owned that.
The whole,
The Big John's property, yeah. Well,
And
other
the houses?
than Denicky owned
Oh,
the
yeah.
property for a while.
yeah, Clint Denny.
And the other place was just, I mean, it was a restaurant that I remember as a kid.
Yeah.
I don't remember what Anchor House I think it was called, but, that was just a thought. Figured I'd put it towards you, to you guys, and see what your thoughts and opinions on it were.
I gotta say, when I first read this, I thought it was if somebody wanted to donate a big chunk of money, we'd be happy
Me
to.
too.
That's what I thought.
Such as with the splash pad.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, how much are we gonna require that they put down the naming rights? I mean, it's an opportunity, but it's also, I see your point. I guess it's, does anyone have any?
I mean, we got a
Thoughts on
while. I
this?
just figured I'd put it out there, food for thought for everything.
Okay.
So.
If there's no strong desire to carry on further with it, we'll move to the next subject, tree tapping.
That one is also near and dear to my heart, but this came up last year, and I did see it 2 years ago that some people out there are tapping city trees. during the maple syrup time. My concern is struggle fold, that number one, those are city trees, they aren't public, the public owns them, they aren't the individual property owners' trees. The property owners are essentially not providing that syrup to everybody that wants a taste in the city. The other concern I have is with the damage to the trees and the potential of, I mean, we've got a lot of old trees, and that's the ones they seem to be, they're using the maples. And that it doesn't need to be done, just as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it's necessary, and they can find trees elsewhere. Not city trees.
It does damage the trees?
Potentially, I mean, you're opening up a tree and putting a tap in, I mean, you know, you're opening up the bark essentially to the area of the tree that could get damaged or get some kind of a, something happen with it, infection, whatever, you know. You're introducing, just like a human, you're introducing a foreign object that probably really doesn't need to be put in there.
And then afterwards, if they plug it, that can also cause problems as well. You're supposed to not plug it.
Have we heard from the folks who are doing that? I think there's a group called,
It's not that group, it's everybody.
Oh, it's not.
It's
It's
individuals are doing it.
oh, it's just whoever decides to?
There was some on Livingston Street, a couple years ago, and last year there was one over, a couple over this direction.
Some on Division.
Yep, yeah, Division Street's where I saw some over there, but I just, again, they don't belong to those people, they don't belong to the property owners. If they wanna tap out the trees on their property, they can do it till heck won't have it, but I just don't think that city trees, especially, everybody's not benefiting from it.
So you would prefer to see it prohibited versus prohibited?
Yes,
So the hole is an opportunity for insects to get in.
I would assume so, that anything that, yeah, it's just like sticking a needle in a person, same thing, you can get infection and.
Well, there's certainly a process that should be followed. I talked to Wiley, who came to one of our meetings, he's with the Montague Commoners, and it's a potential problem if you don't know what you're doing. Certainly there's a process that should be followed, and especially afterwards, plugging the hole is not a good idea. So, yeah, if people aren't following the process, certainly it could cause an issue, so. And there are plenty of maple trees around, I don't think.
Yep.
Seem to be getting new invasive bugs every year too, so.
That's true.
Like I said, I just don't think it's a necessary thing to have us allow that. I mean, they can, like you said, they can go find someone else to, if they want, contact the property owner for the trees on that property and say, hey, can I tap the trees on your property? And if they feel the need, they can do that.
I agree with Jeff on that.
I don't see any problem with it.
I would agree with you.
My preference would be prohibit and not regulate.
Yeah.
Regulate, you're just, somebody's gotta keep track of it.
Maybe they can ask their neighbor if they can tap the tree in their backyard.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, well, it appears we have a consensus on prohibiting that, so I think that's direction for staff. Housing. Who brought that?
That was you and me.
This you and I?
That was you and me. I know you wanted to look at short-term rentals.
Yes, I do.
I wanted to look at housing, including the definition of affordable housing, and there is a federal definition, Steve, which is no more than 30% of your income, your gross income, including rent, so I think that's helpful to at least, go by. So
affordable housing is different to every person,
Right.
if it's based on your income.
well, that's the HUD definition of affordable housing, I believe. And so, for example, if you were making $30,000 a year, your affordable would not be more than $750 a month. So it just gives you some. If it was, our median I think is $58,750, and that would be $1,470. So just some ideas of you know,
Median
for,
for the county's 58,
pardon? I
counties.
think City of Whitehall.
or City of Whitehall.
Yeah, I believe, yeah, and I think recent home prices have been 205,000 to 320,000, and median rent is 1350. And then, of course, you know, you get in, we do have, you know, about, does this sound right, Scott? About 60, nearly 70% of owner occupied and about 33% renter. Okay, and then I know some of the short-term rental concerns might be, it would certainly reduce the long-term housing supply. So,
So how would you come up with this affordable housing? Are you gonna tell landowners that they can only rent for a certain amount?
no, I didn't say that.
Well, I'm just wondering where are these houses gonna come from? Who's gonna build them?
Well,
Somebody said people that are building it are gonna wanna make money, or they aren't gonna do it, unless you got Habitat for Humanity or something like that.
well, I mean, I had asked for the housing coordinator to come visit when they had when they were not new. I don't think they're new anymore, Scott. So,
We're still on the top of their radar.
okay, and they did a housing study, and they indicated that they were willing to partner with municipalities. I think also I know someone from True North, and they partner. So these, you know, this would be probably, well, it could be, you know, actual housing, or it could be apartments. I don't think anybody is suggesting that we tell people what they have to have for a rent or what they have to sell their house for. That's not what this is about. This is just trying to make sure that people in our area can afford a house.
So,
And we have enough houses for them.
but the city doesn't own these houses, and we
No.
can't build them.
No, we can
The city's
partner.
not gonna get involved in building houses, even if the feds pay half.
Well,
We can't do it.
let's just back up a little before you jump
I'm trying to
ahead like
figure out
that.
where in the world is this affordable housing gonna come from? You know, they have these things in Grand Rapids. I mean, Grand Rapids is a little bit bigger than Whitehall. You know, they got a thing going on down there where they're building
They have them in small towns too.
big housing things for, low income people.
But it doesn't have to be big, and you don't have to be in a city.
Don't we have it out here by, next to White Lake Nursery?
You mean Shaw? Yeah.
No.
What?
The apartments out there.
Oh, that is subsidized housing, yeah.
Isn't that low income housing?
I would say it's subsidized, probably lower income. Yeah, so. We have people who say they wanna live here and there's not a house, whether that's quote affordable or not affordable. I think it's a good topic to discuss, cause I think we need to look at making sure that we have homes for people to live in, whether they're young starter homes or whether there's senior. I mean, I probably won't ever move from my house. I mean, I've been there forever. But if I were to, I'm not sure where I would move. I mean, are there smaller homes for seniors? Are there housing facilities for seniors? There's a lot of different types. I would like to take a look at it, and I would include in with that the short-term rental question, because there are communities that are doing something about that, and I'd like to at least know. I think City of Muskegon has done something. So, and then Steve, you had the short-term rental concept.
Yes. I would like to look at putting some sort of limit on percentage of short-term rentals in our community. As you know, when Airbnbs, you're taking away housing stock from people that wanna actually live here year-round and work here.
Do we know how many we have?
That's the first thing is data collection.
So, my understanding is anyone that rents a house in this community is supposed to be registered. Now, I know that not everyone that has a VRBO is registered.
Right. Well, we don't require it, do we?
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do?
If you
Okay.
rent,
Okay, yes, yeah.
you are required to be registered and inspected.
How do you enforce that?
Well, Scott?
Well, the easy part is the inspection. We have retained Muskegon Charter Township to do the rental inspections. The cycle is once every 3 years. Some require repeat visits, so it's on a more frequent basis. The registration is, in a sense, voluntary, but we do, staff and Muskegon Charter Township does note. In fact, the staff at Muskegon Charter Township actually will Google Airbnbs in Whitehall. When they see one advertised, they cross-reference that, and they alert us or the homeowner and require the registration. So we don't have 100% compliance, but we do fairly well. So I don't know what the number is. Brenda or Toby would probably have that.
I've got something here that I wanted to hand out. This is from the the Michigan Riparian magazine from earlier this year. And Clifford Bloom, attorney, always writes a column in there. And he did a
Oh,
column
we already have it.
this spring that talked about short-term rentals. And he makes the point that a short-term rental, in that second paragraph there, a short-term rental is by nature a business which should not be allowed in the residential area unless there's, special exceptions made. And he also says in there that the worst thing you can do is nothing. So probably the worst option of all for any municipality is to simply ignore short-term rentals and not regulate them. So thought I'd hand that out, good reading.
Well, we are at the point where we're not doing anything. We are requiring inspection and registration. What I would like to look at is setting some sort of limit, some percentage limit that says, I think we're somewhere around 33% right now. What's the,
For short term or for all rentals?
for all, no distinguishing between short and long term. As the individual says.
We don't have a number that breaks that up.
A rental is a rental, is what you're considering.
It says there are, in general, Michigan courts do not allow short-term rentals in single-family residential zoning districts, even when the local zoning ordinance is silent. And then they've got a bunch of examples, so I'll bet that a lot of the ones that we have are in single-family residential areas.
Yes, they are.
And so they actually should not be allowed based on Michigan law, the way I'm reading this thing. In general.
Do you have any insight to that, Will?
Yeah, well, there is a distinction between short-term and long-term, because residential, if you have a year lease and you're leasing, that's generally not something that falls into that topic. That's not something that's prohibited. But the short-term ones, there's a fair amount of litigation going on regarding both just zoning laws and neighborhood associations, condos, things like that, that were, the documents were prepared before, language was all before the time they had short-term rentals, and now they're trying to sort of take what was supposed to cover long-term rentals and apply it to short-term rentals, and it's creating all kinds of issues. But there are a couple different options for regulating short-term rentals within a city like Whitehall. But typically it's separate from the longer term. It's designed to target short-term rentals, not year-long leases of residential properties.
What's the definition of short term?
It can vary. Sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's just anything over 30 days, it would be okay. Like if you want to rent your house for the summer or for the winter or something like
Yeah.
that. That is usually more of the distinction. It's sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's longer, but oftentimes it's anything over 30 days, it's not prohibited by the short-term rental
Well, I know some
prohibition,
people,
but anything
yeah,
under that
they,
falls within that.
yeah, I know people who rent, they go south and they rent their home because they want somebody in it rather than.
Right, yeah, so that's typically, it's more to prevent the in and out every week and people coming to party in your house for the
Oh.
weekend. That's what most of the objection about, but part of the objection, the other objection is that it takes
Yeah.
housing stock off the market, because people are
Yeah.
using it for rental.
Easy for an install.
Disturbing.
Just looking at, I just Airbnb Whitehall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 that pop up, I just put in a date in July, and there's 8 that pop up in the area, in the city, with the amounts that they're charging per day, I guess, or whatever.
So is there any precedent for limiting the amount of short-term rentals by percentage wise?
Yeah, and sometimes it does it by the city of Muskegon. I think somebody mentioned the city of Muskegon has some rules. They have different rules in different areas of the city that, so the sort of the more touristy sections might have different limits than other parts of the city. So it's a little bit of a case by case, and if we want, we can kind of come back. We can kind of come back with some options.
Doesn't Grand Haven
Yeah.
prohibit that?
Yeah, Grand Haven was one of the early ones that
Right.
adopted some regulations. Or Muskegon, I think has some.
One of the things that the concern is with tormenting your neighbors. You get
Right.
the house out to a bunch of college kids or something.
Right.
And it is probably more likely to happen along the lake shore where I'd like to rent my house out for a couple of weeks here and there, but in Tannery Bay, just for the record, you're not allowed to rent it out for less than 6 months at a time.
Right, so a lot of newer sort of developments have clearer language than ones that were done a long time ago, and they prohibit it.
That might be Timberview too,
I'm not sure which ones do.
condo project.
Yeah, a lot of them do nowadays, put that language in there right from the get-go.
So yes, I would ask you to,
Yeah, we can certainly have some stuff for next session.
we're all in agreement with that?
And can we hop back to the affordable housing for a
Yes.
minute? I believe it was last year, I think Scott, you did a land inventory, and I think there were some parcels. And then we were waiting until we could bring the housing coordinator here. But at the very least, it'd be helpful to look at what's the zoning on those, if we didn't know, if that information wasn't provided during that. I don't think it was.
I think
I think there were like 6 parcels that might be like something big enough for co-housing, an area where there might be some starter homes.
Yeah, I think for the most part, when we did that property inventory, we went to city council, and there was a discussion as to which, started with staff, which parcels we felt had some value to the city and which did not. And then we presented those to council, and we sold most everything that had no value to the city.
Oh, that's not the same conversation. This was on a work session related, and the land review is the first step to looking at, do you have it? So this is an entirely different conversation.
Okay, I'm kind of rolling into that.
Okay.
Because the only real viable developable
Yeah.
property is the old Forest Hills Manor subdivision behind Fairlawn Court. And we started that process by having Brandon Newhoff look at how that site can be developed, because it's low, you're never supposed to build low. But with a couple of retention ponds, we think that stormwater management can be managed. Instead of the road going through, we looked at cul-de-sacing it, because the city started selling some of those parcels off to adjacent property owners, so you wouldn't gain any value by bringing the road out to Dunston. And I believe that left us with either 16 to 18 buildable lots. So what has kind of tabled that is to bring in the state of Michigan and the county housing director, and the community foundation also has some funding resources to put together a package to present to the council to say, with these partners, we think we'd like to bid this out to a developer to come in and build the houses. And with, some sort of financial partnership with the city for the infrastructure, community foundation for, some low subsidized loans or some grants, that we could make it more affordable for the average person. But, the standard house nowadays is gonna be 200 grand and up. But if a developer only has 120 grand into it, then maybe it's more affordable to resell. But it's gonna take some public-private financial cooperation.
sure.
Didn't the city of Muskegon do something like this with those? There's a whole.
Yeah, they've got, and there's federal and state tax incentives that can help with those sorts of things, and, there's a lot that goes into those and getting those things approved, and, but that's what it is, obviously it becomes a dollars and cents question for developers. What are the incentives and this and that, what I can sell them, and then the prices come down and they can put some requirements on the buyer.
A lot of those were land bank
There could be some
properties
land-
too,
that's-
weren't
that's
they?
what I'm saying. Some of it comes
Because
from
I
the
know a
state.
bunch of them were all burned out.
Yeah, a
houses
lot of
down
those have
there that
been
they
sort of,
bulldozed and
yeah,
opened a lot
neighborhoods
up.
that they redeveloped, kind
Yep.
of like the old urban
They wanted
renewal
to do
stuff.
some infill, I know that.
Well, like I said, the city had a lot of fires and they just sat. And I think they finally got tired of it and bulldozed and raised them all and just had a bunch of individual lots all over the place. And I think the Heights was looking at that too.
Yeah, the Heights and some of that stuff.
Because they had a lot too that.
Well, when I asked you and you brought it back, you also had private properties that could also do that. I think there were like 5 of those. And then we actually had a developer here who said he was glad we were interested in affordable housing because he was too. So I would like to at least, you're not gonna be here much longer, Scott, so I suppose I could start bugging the new guy, but, I'd like to have a presentation on the study, and I'd like to have the housing coordinator here, and I'd just like to explore ways we might partner and maybe explore a pilot project. I am concerned about housing for people in the city of Whitehall.
There's a small,
Whether it's affordable or not.
in Hart, there is a street that has about 8 little duplexes on it, and I think they're all single stall garages and stuff, and they look like they're quite shallow lots and duplexes, and I think there's mostly seniors living there, but it would be interesting to find out how much those would cost to duplicate those. I've been through there, they're nice looking little houses.
Hart, yeah.
In Hart,
Yeah, that'd be great if you could find them.
on the far eastern edge of Metro Hart,
Oh.
about 6 blocks over, I think.
Keep in mind, as Will mentioned, with a number of those communities, Muskegon Heights, Muskegon, and Hart, they are all designated low to moderate communities. So there's a big bucket of money at the state and federal level that is available for those communities that we wouldn't have access to. And a lot of it is for, I don't know if it's subsidized, but at least grant opportunities to offset the cost of new housing.
I still wanna look into
I
it.
mean, we can, definitely look into it.
Thank you.
Instead of brought up the land bank, 708 division. It's a land bank house now, I've noticed, there's a notice on the house that says it's in the land bank. And,
Muskegon County Land Bank
yeah,
Association or whatever it is.
but that house is,
That house needs tore down.
Division.
Oh,
On a corner.
No, right across the
second from the corner.
Division and what?
One house off the corner of Division and Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yellow house. Next to the house that has the big Trump banner on the top.
Oh, I didn't notice.
You didn't notice that?
I was just in it last weekend. House is wide open,
Wide open, yeah.
no doors, all full of animal feces and all the stuff that people left behind that
So how did the
they
land-
took 4 dumpsters out of there when the people left. That, the doors have been open on that house since last fall. And I don't know, is the city mowing the front yard? Or is it just neighbors trying to keep it up so the neighborhood doesn't look so bad? I know it's being mowed, but I don't know if the city was doing it.
Yeah, I know we just put on the tax rolls a handful of properties that the city did mow. Not sure if that's one of them, but we'll take a look at that site, to make it secure, and not a hazard.
So I guess my question is, how the land bank get it? Do they owe taxes to us?
They would owe property tax.
Yeah, I'm just thinking we ended up with that property at Allison Mears years ago. I mean, why did this opportunity fall in the land, go to the land bank versus us?
That I don't know,
I'm sure they would.
but I will tell you that municipalities don't make the best landlords.
No, they don't. I guess, if I may, while we're
Yes.
talking about houses, I know we have discussed it before, Division and Alice, North.
Northwest?
Yeah, Burns' old house, where's that? I know we talked about.
The boat's gone.
No, I saw the boat's gone, that's a start, but I know we had discussed that 6 months ago, 8 months ago, so I mean, time flies. I know it had changed owners and they were talking about raising it and everything else, but again, I mean, how long do we sit on something that doesn't meet code? I'm
Yeah,
sure it does not.
Well, yeah, we have to have more than sure that it does
Yeah,
not. We have
yeah,
to have access to
I
the
know, that's
interior.
the thing, is we gotta get access.
I know Toby Frederickson has had that house on his list, and I think he worked with getting rid of the boat, so I'll check with Toby on the status of that. And Will and I'll touch base afterwards, because there's limits as to what we can and can't
Yeah,
do.
yeah, I know.
But when does it get to the point that it's a hazard?
Well, that would have to be a court declaration based upon building inspector, and again, without access to the inside, it's a lot more difficult.
I'm just wondering about neighborhood kids.
Me as well, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we gotta wait till it falls in, I guess. I hate to see it go that far, but.
There's legal steps that have to be met.
Typical process is we would have to get a court order, ordering the property owner to cure any defects within a certain period of time. If they don't, then we go back and get another court order that says the city can cure it, or actually it might be one and the same. But then there'd be a final court order for demolition. So it's probably 8 months to a year
Yeah,
process.
It's a process.
Well, I mean, if there is, I don't want the city to trespass, but if the door is open or if there's windows that are broken, is that something we can?
Those are the
consider?
obvious public hazards that
Okay.
we can have addressed immediately.
Okay. Okay, and I'm not sure if there are, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't know, I haven't stopped and looked, like I said, other than cheering when I went by and saw the boat was gone.
Yeah.
But, in the long, so. Yeah, I don't even know who owns it anymore. I mean, Scott said last time, I think it had changed hands recently again.
It seems like it does, and it's usually out-of-state property
Yeah.
owners who probably just see something on a sale
You know,
and pick up.
I guess the other question, are they paying property taxes still on those, or are they a lien or something on?
Yeah, I think they're still up to date on
Still up to
taxes.
date. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Next up, new city manager onboarding.
Yeah, and I do want to apologize, when I sent that email out to everybody, and I said I'd like to know what your feelings are, I meant at the meeting. I wasn't inviting
I
comments.
figured that's right, but
Yeah, I wasn't
didn't want
inviting
people
comment
jumping
back.
on and starting to respond, so.
Yeah. So I'm, haven't heard anything about where we stand on him, Daniel, whether he's signed a contract or anything yet, and how soon he's willing to start, and where we are on that, and what's the process is gonna be.
Well, we just
Yeah.
got an email today.
Yeah, we got a draft of I've been talking to Nate from Double Hall and working through the contract. He kind of had a form that he had used in some other places, but it needed some updating and so forth. So we I worked with him on that, and he was also talking to Dan, and they then went back and forth once we kind of got the contract drafted. And I think from the email, I was kind of on the road, didn't really get to see it, but it seemed like Dan was agreeable to what was in there.
Yeah, I just got the email in the middle of the day and didn't have a chance
Yeah,
to
so-
look at the contract, but the Nate seemed to have a good thought about it.
Yeah, and so I think, I didn't get a really chance to look at it either, we got it this afternoon. So look at that tomorrow, but assuming that's in good shape, we would look to bring that back at the next meeting for approval.
I think he wanted to start sooner rather than
And that's
He
later.
wants to start sooner and work.
We'd like to
do a
get some of
special
Scott's
meeting.
time before you leave.
I think that was the sense.
Would that be could we do a special, I mean, if it looks
We
like
could,
it's
yeah,
good,
we could
a
always do it,
special-
a special meeting if we wanted to. Sure. Approve the contract, and I'll take it, stop. So I'll be able to take a look at that tomorrow, but I got it today. So, Mayor.
I did look at it today, I had some time, and I
Okay.
read through it, and I do have some questions that I'd like to talk with you, Tanya, about it.
Pardon?
I'd like to speak with you on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
we're
just didn't
supposed to
have
be
a
doing.
chance to look at the, when I look at it, we'll put it together.
And I know, as you said, Daniel would like to start sooner rather than later, and for purposes of overlapping, but I know, Scott, you're gonna be on vacation, are you not,
Next week.
next week? So, wouldn't be much overlapping if you're not here,
No.
so
I don't know, it's
That-
probably, oh, go ahead.
that needs to be.
I think all the background checks, I don't know if you said that in there, did all the background checks?
There was no mention of.
Yeah, he
background
mentioned they were
checks.
still waiting, I talked to him
Didn't see
on Monday or Friday, and there was still something that hadn't come back, that takes a little while. Most of it, I mean, I can anticipate anything, but there was still one thing that hadn't come back. But he was proceeding it along the assumption that was gonna be fine.
I hadn't heard anything as far as this, physical either.
No,
I've heard that those are two the big things, the background check and the physical, and then
Nate and Dan have been working, and they've been talking, and he was talking with us a little bit.
just in general terms of what has been proposed, Nate didn't express any great concerns with any of the elements of the contract.
No, there was nothing that was out of line with what was proposed at all, from what I can tell.
It hasn't been all that long, probably 2 weeks yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it seems like a long time, because,
And there's a holiday in there.
yeah,
So-
and we haven't heard anything either from the committee, which I don't know if there's, you could make it posted on it, updated once in a while or something. I don't think we've had anything, have we?
There has been nothing to
So that's
report.
why there's
That's
been
like
really
it's
been
not
nothing
We got
until.
the draft
We got
today.
it today. That was-
Yeah.
I'd been doing some legal stuff with Nate just to kind of get the contract in shape, but he presented it to him on Friday, I think, because he wanted to get it to him we were talking on Friday, and he just wanted to get the words kind of in order, but what we were talking about wasn't the terms, like the key business terms, they were just sort of the legal stuff. So he got it to him on Friday. And then so they were then talking over the weekend and on Monday, or Thursday, I guess he got it to him on Thursday before the 4th. And then they talked on yesterday, got it finalized and got it out to everybody. So,
Seems like they got it worked out pretty fast.
yeah,
And I asked Nate what his desired schedule was from the committee.
Oh, okay.
And he replied that he was hoping to have something from the committee by the end of this week.
Yeah.
So that sometime
Yeah.
before the week is over, you and I need to sit down and
Absolutely,
Talk.
yeah. I just was in meetings all day today.
all right.
Who's the committee again? You and Tanya?
And
Will?
Will
And
and
Nate?
Nate. Last is the expanding the social district. Okay.
So it's pretty simple. There's two parts. Some of you might remember, there's sort of two parts to the social district. There's the the social district, which is the bigger area, and then there's the common area, it's the area within the social district where you can actually walk around with your drink. It's relatively small right now. I brought the map. I don't know if you looked at the map recently, but it's the blue part of the map is the part that is the social district. Basically, you just send, if you want to expand that, you approve it, this gets marked up, and you send it in, and they're going to approve it. The state oversight on this after the first year has been minimal, and this was all approved. So expanding, once you have the district, expanding the common area within that district is pretty simple to you guys.
So essentially, we got the district, and then we've got the little area.
Common area.
We got the area within the area.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then one area though that we should do is Mears, the north part that gets blocked off for the Monday night things, should be added. That's obviously used as a social district now. It's not technically in there, so. But again, which is fine. But so that should be added. I don't know if there was other area that you wanted to talk about, or.
I would certainly like to sit down with the council and maybe at the next work session when we have more time to discuss this in greater detail, where we want to go with this. I think we're kind of running out of time here today, and I'd like
Well, that's the basics, so it's pretty
Yeah.
simple to do if you want to.
But I'd like to, I guess at this point, unless anyone has anything, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Anybody wants to comment on anything concerning what we talked about today? It appears not, so we will recess
Yeah. Well, you're staying, just.
All right, I call this meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up is approval of the agenda. Can you hear back there? Are the people here in the back?
Hello.
You can't hear?
Yeah, we're in so-so. Use your mic, John.
I move for the approval of the agenda for July 8, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the agenda, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. All right, we have an agenda. Next up is the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
I have one question on, the accounts payable, page 1, Lawn Corporation for $51,791.32. Can we get a little bit better explanation of what all that includes?
Well, that is a payment number 4 for the project that we had contracted with them, including parking lots and the pocket park. Basically, there's a very detailed itemized list. If council would like a copy of that, we can send that out.
I'd like that, thanks.
I mean, there's only so much information they can put on their sheet, and it just
Right.
kind of stops, and I just.
Yeah, and this is basically the pay request number 4. It's about 8 pages worth. And basically, the city engineer goes through it and verifies it, and then I sign off on it. It's a $778,000 contract. This will bring total payments to, let's see, 672 with 105 left over.
So when is it gonna be done?
At this point, it looks like it's gonna be August, I believe, 14th.
That's all I had, thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the consent agenda, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Consent agenda is approved. Next up is messages. City manager, any messages?
No, I have nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Council. Tanya.
Sure, okay, boy, that sounds wrong. Scott, I wanted to check with you, so the, Christy Marsh from the senior center, asked me, she wants to set up the 2 senior dinners that are part of, the payment that we gave them, but I wanted to confirm the timetable, because she is wanting to do one in September and one in March. So, the payments that my senior advisory committee was working on, what time period is that?
Basically, it goes by the county fiscal year, which is
Yeah.
October 1 to September 30. The money we received already would be carried over into the current fiscal year. So I think we can make a reimbursement payment.
Okay, so that will, well, I mean, they've already got the money, right?
I don't know if they've made a request for the funds at all.
Oh, okay, I'll ask her to request the funds.
Yep.
And then, what she is suggesting, which is September and March, is okay?
Sure.
Or, do you want them earlier? I mean, it's up to, I told her I wanted to go to council and ask for what they're thinking.
We said a dinner in September and one in.
One in March, and I was just trying to remember when that time period was, but that's an okay time period? Does that sound good?
Just don't do March 9th.
March 9th? Okay, I'll write that down.
It's my wife's birthday, so.
You can take her to dinner.
That's
You
what-
can take care to the senior day.
That's what that's what I was gonna suggest, and we can sing happy birthday.
I'll clear it.
Okay, but I've got that, okay. Okay, I'll get back to her and suggest she make the request and then, get the dates, the particular dates, and then we'll have to make sure to really get the word out about that. Because those are free dinners for seniors in the city of Whitehall, every senior, so, cool.
Great.
That's it for me.
Yeah, the 4th of July parade was a lot of fun. Hope you all went out and watched or participated. It was a lot of fun and very well attended. Great to be a part of. So, that's all.
Yeah, I enjoyed the parade too. I'll just throw one thing out. There's been so much talk about taxes and why are the taxes so high and everything. And so just kind of a project the other day. I got a list of this is for 2024. I got a list of the Whitehall taxes, summer and winter, and a list of the taxes for Montague, winter and summer. And they're hard to compare because there's differences what we include in the summer and winter. And it turns out that the taxes in Whitehall are about 5 mils less than in Montague.
Yes.
And a big chunk of that is because the school debt number in Montague is like 3.5 mils higher than ours, something that range. And it was very interesting, and now I can answer people a little better. I forgot my list here though, but anyway, that's all I have.
A couple things. Community garden looks great. There is a lot of talk on their Facebook page. It turned out pretty good. I was hoping to be a little bit bigger, but it's a good first start. A lot of places donated. I mean, they have a ton of stuff they got, which is great. Just we'll see how it works out. Hopefully, it can take up the whole tennis court over there. The other thing is, I think I brought it up last time, but the tables are in and downtown. We got 3 new 3-position tables, and there's 5? 4, I think it's 5. That's on the promenade. If you get a chance, go down and look at them. Scott made mention last week of how much they were. Looking from the quality of the construction, they're worth every penny. So if you get a chance, go down there and look. My understanding is they were well used during the last Monday. Everybody
they
was
were.
there. Probably going to be one of the first things people grab, but I think we just need to continue to do that. It gives people a place to sit downtown and makes that gathering place that we want. So that's all I got.
I saw people sitting on them yesterday.
Wonderful.
Scott?
I don't even know if this is the right place or time to even bring it up. But an observation, concern, question, Chief's here. The one-way alley beside Dairy Treat. I was at the Dairy Treat with family a couple weekends ago. We were up on the roof enjoying our treats, and I was probably up there for 25 minutes and watched 9 cars drive out onto Colby Street the wrong way. It's not the first time I've watched this happen before. I guess I'd just like to know whether, if it's a one-way alley, can we post it better than what it's posted? And if we're not gonna enforce it, then why don't we take the one-way signs down? I've been seeing it violated for years, and I know the first time I tried to do it, there would be a cop sitting there. So I just, like to bring it out onto the radar that, I don't know, ever since Sheer Genius moved down there, you got a sign that says one way at Colby, and you got one when you're pulling out of Wesco. But all the people that pulled in to park at Sheer Genius to get their hair cut, there's no sign that they're seeing that says one way until they get all the way up to Colby. They should have saw it when they pulled in, but, I thought, somebody in my family said, well, why don't you paint it on the road? That's probably a good suggestion to bring up, but I just thought it was something I wanted to throw out, so that's all I have, thank you.
Steve?
Well, my two things I was gonna say something about both already came up. I really enjoyed the parade, and also I'm really watching this garden out here and quite interested in that, and I've got a couple more boxes for them if she wants them. I would imagine that they want more, but that brought 5 of them out there already. They probably will take a couple more, but I don't think they're done.
No.
Absolutely. I'll have to ask her. Every time I go by, I look to see if somebody's there, if I can go ask her, because I don't have her number or anything, so. But, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that thing. I don't really care to go pick anything there or do anything. I just think it's a wonderful thing for the community, so that's all.
All right. For myself, once again, the parade. I want to give great big thanks to Stephanie and her staff at the White Lake Area Chamber of Commerce. That parade is a chamber event, not a city event. And I also want to give special thanks to the Hope Bible Chapel people who, after the parade, walked the parade route and picked up all the trash. It's something that I truly appreciate, because it's been my habit the day after the parade to do that and pick up the trash. And this year, it sounded bad afterwards. There was no trash, so yeah.
I saw it.
It was Hope Bible Chapel. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So really grateful for that. The fireworks, I don't know if anybody here saw the fireworks. I think it was a spectacular fireworks display. The fireworks committee, it is put on by the White Lake Area Fireworks Committee, a current nonprofit organization, which I sit on the board of, and they were able to pay for the final $10,000. Fireworks this year cost $20,000. And we signed a contract with the company to do fireworks again next year on our country's 250th anniversary, which I think is very important. So we're going to be asking people to help us out with that. A long ways to go to raise $25,000 between now and next July. Also coming up is July 19th is Walk the Beat. So I think this is going to be their 4th year. Fantastic local event. So that'll be from 1 to 3 p.m. Between Whitehall and Montague. And also July 25th coming up is the Cruising Parade. Yes, that is coming back. So with that, we will move on to public comment at this point. Anyone wishing to make a public comment, step up to the podium, give your name, and try to limit it to 3 minutes.
My name is Edward Whalen. I live at 603 Muskegon Avenue. This comment is prompted by council members checking the 2 city tax levels. At one time, we had a pie chart that showed where the money that is collected by the city goes. Many people, I believe, in fact I'm sure of it, are convinced that when they pay Whitehall taxes, that money all stays here. You all know better. It goes to the county, it goes to the state, it goes to the water commission, it goes to everywhere. I had, unfortunately, a situation where a gentleman was in the medical facility over here, and they were closing one thing because it's that day. And he said, well, all the taxes I pay, how dare they close this up? It's really kind of unusual to have people say things like that. If there's a way we could put another pie chart out or on our website, try to explain to people that we collect taxes for many different places, and our piece of the tax is probably smaller than most of it goes everywhere else. I just thought that might be brought up, because the Whitehall tax or the Montague tax includes counties and states and everybody else's, and the chances of your dollars going to a Whitehall thing is probably limited. More than likely it'll go to the county jail or the wastewater treatment or something. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make a comment?
Hello, my name is Doug Boardwell. I'm on the new cruising committee, along with 4 other area residents, car enthusiasts, Dan Boyer sitting back there, Whitehall resident, and local firefighter. Wanted to thank you for allowing us to have this event again this year, kind of bringing it back to what it was. You know, the parade started at Whitehall at Fall Field and going through town, ended in Montague. There is a road closure request under new business tonight, and I wanted to be able to just talk about kind of our viewpoint, how we wanted to set that up, and if you had any questions for me. So we are requesting to close the Hanson Hill and a couple of the little surrounding roads to set up a spot for cars to do burnouts. It is definitely a balance in getting this back going with, you know, we've been working close with the police departments of both towns, DPWs, city managers of Montague. Sorry, Scott. So, you know, the balance between, you know, kind of why they shut it down and get it back going, you know, where's the safety, public safety, you know, obviously a lot of people show up wanting to see certain things happen, and, you know, I think we can all say last year was probably a good thing to shut it down and kind of regroup, and I think it needed kind of a fresh look. So our group, we started a nonprofit separate of the cities. We've taken it off the city's budgets. We are going to reimburse for different expenses and overtime costs that the city has incurred over the years. So it's something that we're taking on. We are fundraising. This burnout box on Hanson Hill would be a fundraising opportunity for us. It would be a cost to participate in this burnout box. Our goal is to, you know, use some of that money to help cover the cost of the event, but also give back to something in the community. And, after some recent events over the weekend, we kind of have a family in mind this year. So that's something we're discussing more at our meeting, but wanted to get back to, you know, just something. Double L Excavating in Montague has volunteered to set up this box. They have cement barricades, they have fencing, they have a bunch of different items that we would use to safely contain this spot. Kind of listening to Chief Mahoney's concerns with the surrounding area, where to keep people. We really, it works well on Hanson Hill because the best viewing spot is going to be up above. So setting a fence, like a snow fence, the snow farmers have volunteered to help us there, set a fence or a barricade so people cannot come down too close. There'll be a couple viewpoints from businesses like Water Dogs and the Chamber of Commerce where you get a different vantage point from there, so you can see the parade and see this spot. One of the concerns with cars doing burnouts on the old parade route in the past were, you know, it's everywhere. It gets, you know, spread out through the whole parade. Obviously, public safety is an issue. Some of the car enthusiasts don't want to be around it. They don't want rubber or rocks or potential damage to be sprayed up on their vehicles. So splitting this off, the idea is at the corner where Home Services is, you would direct over to the burnout box if you choose to do it. If you don't want to be a part of that part of the event, you would just continue around the big corner like normal and then regroup at the bottom of Hanson Hill and continue over to Montague. So just wanted to kind of explain that. It was kind of an odd request, but I appreciate you guys listening and taking this into consideration. Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment? Okay, I don't believe we have any old business. So we will move on to new business. Resolution 2518, purchase of DPW trucks.
I'll move resolution 2518, the purchase of the two DPW trucks.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
I just have one question. Go ahead, Tom.
What I was gonna ask is, last year when we approved I think it was $45,000 for the police car, then later on, now we gotta approve like $6,000 or $7,000, whatever it was, for all the gear to put in it and all of that. So I'm wondering if the number in this purchase resolution includes everything, or are we gonna have other stuff that has to go in there that's gonna increase the cost significantly?
I can double check on that. I know one of the vehicles, I think the 4x2 is gonna be used for the Parks Department, so that's a ready-to-go vehicle. The 4x4 is likely gonna be a plow vehicle. Most often, we actually convert the plow equipment from the old vehicle to the new, but there might be some minor cost, obviously not far exceeding the 53,000 that we have available, but I would double check with Don Bond on that.
And same thing with the next resolution too, so.
All right.
My only question was, it just seems to me that one of them is a 4x4 and one of them is a 4x2. Probably sooner than later, you're probably gonna need a 4x2 to have been a 4x4, and for the $4,000 difference, I just didn't understand why they both weren't just 4x4.
Again, primarily the 4x2 is used by the parks crew. Those are the college and high school kids. And they don't really need that much of a vehicle. You know, it'd be a 4x4 to run around, pick up garbage and pull the trailers with the lawnmower equipment.
Yeah, my thought was just down the road, 5-6 years, when we hand this stuff down to different duties or whatever, that if it was a 4x4, it could be used for more, than with it being a 4x2, and
Yep.
with the $4,000 difference, I'd have just as soon seen them both be 4x4.
I can check with Don on that as well.
Man. I agree with Scott on this one, especially with the two incidents that we've had with the storm in town and everything else. You know, that truck could, if it was a 4x4, that truck could be pulled from that use to make a different use temporarily. Like Scott, for $4,000, I mean, quite honestly, it's from the big scheme of things, it would be well worth just to have two identical trucks and go that route. But that's, again, I think that would be a good idea just from a disaster potential usage type vehicle. I mean, we ended up with a lot of rain or something like that. We needed trucks to go somewhere, at least, instead of having that one stuck in a ditch somewhere, at least have four-wheel drive. They run two-wheel most of the time anyway. We all know how four-wheel drive works. So, for that negligible amount of money, it's even under $4,000. It's more like $3,500.
Is that a motion to amend the resolution?
You want to make it or you want me to make it? I'll make it.
I'll second it.
So the motion is to purchase two Ford 350 4x4s.
Correct.
Okay. Everyone's on with that? All right, roll call, please.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Siegenthaler,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes,
Brown,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Motion is approved. Next up is Resolution 2519, International Plow Truck Bids.
I make a motion to approve resolution 25-19 for the international plow
Yeah.
truck bid.
Yeah, actually, we're just.
Time out.
I'm out.
You gotta, that was the vote to amend the resolution, so now you gotta.
Oh,
No, all right.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
So when we gotta do
So
that?
now we need a motion to pay for that.
You just amended the
We
resolution.
amended the resolution to read by two trucks, two 4x4 trucks.
Now we're approving that
Now we're actually approving the resolution that we amended.
Okay, I got you now.
All right, okay, that's another roll call, please.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Sittenga,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Thank you, Will, for keeping this legal. So,
Can I do my resolution?
so now we're at resolution 2519.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2519, international plow truck bid.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this?
Only thing I'll throw out is I didn't realize that those plow trucks were not 4x4. Are most of them 4x2s?
Yeah.
Really?
They got the dual wheels on the back.
Yeah. Didn't realize that.
Who doesn't want the road plowed this year?
Brian wouldn't go for my wing, so.
I know we got one of them that's really old, don't we? Well, probably more than one, but
Yeah, this we're replacing a 06, which is now knocking on 20 years old.
With their use of it.
Okay, resolution 2519, roll call, please.
Sittenga,
Yes.
Brown,
yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution is approved. Next up is cruising committee road closure request.
I will move the road closure request to a vote.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any need for any clarification on this?
Can you clarify exactly where it is, so it's to close division?
Essentially the same place we closed for the sledding hill, Tammy.
We're closing Division Street to regular traffic so they can get to the burnout pit.
Correct, North Division, and I think is there some partial Hanson as well? Thompson?
I
Yes,
think
yes.
Hanson's closed from Division all the way to Thompson.
So it's an L.
Correct?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay, and so then when they do the route, and then the place where they do where the burnout box is
Below
down
the
by
sledding
Water
hill.
Dog?
Yep.
The sledding, or up?
Below the sledding hill, so
Oh,
people can
below.
sit on the sledding hill and observe the
Okay.
burnout.
And I think my only question, I'm assuming he's okay with it, the owner of Hanson Hill? Just 'cause
Yes, I think he's looking to benefit from
Okay.
the crowds that will be there to watch it.
I think so, I just like to ask him, you
It's-
never
Oh,
know.
it's fine. It's good to ask.
Mr. Nolte is very accommodating.
Doug, have you spoken to Pat? from-
I spoke to both the owners of Hanson Hill and Fetch, and they're planning something a little extra for them.
Wonderful.
Oh, good, thank you. I thought he would, but I like to ask.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this? No? All those in favor say yes?
Yes. Yes.
Opposed say no? Road closure is approved. Thank you. I'm really excited to see this come back to our community. I think it's a wonderful thing and a good opportunity for local business. At that, is there anyone that has anything else they want to say? Last opportunity for anyone to say anything? Hearing none?
Public comment?
Public comment? Anyone? Here's none.